欢迎收看本期的高端访谈，我是主持人张子怡。今天我们有幸邀请到一位特别的来宾，他曾在世界各地举办过多场音乐会，也曾担任过8项国际钢琴比赛的钢琴评委。我们有幸的今天邀请到了爱德华·德尔加戈教授。Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
我们知道您平时您小的时候母亲曾是您的钢琴启蒙老师，那能谈谈您就是对于这个早期您的童年以及您学习钢琴的这段经历吗？
Yes, at first I would like to say that it's a great pleasure to be in Macau. It's my first time here.
Oh, it's your first time.
And I'm very impressed with the beautiful buildings and the colorfulness in all the lights and at night, and to see the bridges, and it's a very colorful town, very, very beautiful. And I love the old section with where the Portuguese colony was based at one time. I love architecture, and I love old, and I love new. I love modern also. Yeah, so I really appreciate the culture that is in Macau. Yes, and my mother was a big influence in my life. I think that parents are always a big influence in the life of children, and it's not easy sometimes to be a parent, and it's very important that the parents give to the children the interest to learn and to have a cultural life and also a spiritual life. When I was 3 years old, my mother was teaching. She was not a pianist, but she was a piano teacher, and she loved music. And as a matter of fact, when I was already 6, 7, 8 years old, she would take me to hear all the concerts in the theater, and hear also a lot of Spanish music, because my family my grandparents were born in Spain, and then they based themselves in Argentina, and my mother and my father are both from a Spanish background, and so when I was only 3 years old, my mother was teaching, and a student was playing wrong notes. So I went to the piano, and I said, "You are playing the wrong note. You are playing wrong note. You have to play this note, this note." And my mother was very surprised that I had such an incredible ear that I would know. And she said that every time I was showing the note, I was always right. So she knew that I had something special.
I do think your good, fantastic ear is your talent.
Well, obviously it was some kind of a ear connection with musicality. So I started reading music, and my mom was teaching me, but usually the relationship of mother teaching their own children is not good, because the boys usually don't like to be told by the mother. So my mother put me to a teacher. After 2 years of studying, I learned a program, and my teacher was very impressed, and she made me play 2 recitals. Were private concerts, but they were open to the public, and was in a big home, and but I was playing mainly by ear, which means that I was playing without reading the music very well. And my concerts were very well successful, and I was considered a prodigy child. And was, as a matter of fact, also in the newspaper. And my teacher at that time wanted me to play all around the country, and my mother did not like the fact that I was only 7 years old, and she wanted me to study more and be more serious before I would play concerts, and she was right.
OK，那您曾受教于20世纪多位著名的教授，那哪位觉得您对于您的人生来说改变最大啊？那您也是觉得哪位老师对于您的帮助最大呢？
Yes, the teachers are always a big influence in the students. I do believe that the first teacher is always what causes the most important impression. And my teacher was not the one I had at 7, 8 years old. After my teacher, I changed. I was a very difficult child, and I did not like teachers.
Oh, you don't like your teacher.
And I was, the teacher thought I was very difficult child to teach. And when I was 11, I went to a wonderful teacher. And my teacher, because I am from Rosario, Argentina, and Buenos Aires is the capital, Rosario is the second city in the country, and considering Rosario was a very small city to Buenos Aires, but the famous teachers were always in Buenos Aires, and Vicente Scaramuzza was a very famous teacher already, but I was too young and my parents did not have enough money to bring me to Scaramuzza. So I studied with Arminda Canteros that had studied 11 years with Scaramuzza. So she had the foundation and the school of Scaramuzza. Scaramuzza was the teacher of Martha Argerich, and with whom I am very good friend, and also another pianist that played a great deal. I don't know if he was here, Bruno Leonardo Gelber. Bruno Gelber is a great pianist, and he also was among Scaramuzza's greatest students. And so with my teacher at 11 was the one that gave me the foundation. It's very important that the teachers, that the students start very young with a teacher that really is very dedicated to the foundation, the good technique, the good musicality, because what we learn when we are 10, 11, 12 is what is going to remain with us for the rest of our lives. Then there are other teachers that come later, like I studied with a wonderful Italian pianist, Marisa Maranca, and I also studied in New York with Dora Saslavsky and Madame Levine from Juilliard School. But those teachers add some musicality or personality or different points of view. But I do believe that the first teacher is the one that really gives the main foundation to the child. And later, when I studied with her, when I was 9 years later, when I was almost 20, I went to Buenos Aires. And then I started studying with Scaramuzza, and I started studying with him for a couple of years. But already everything that he was telling me, my teacher had told me already, you know? So it was like reinforcing what they had already studied. But he was a big influence to make me aware of relaxation and hand position and beautiful sound. And these are very important things that we have to give to the students because nowadays everybody wants to play very fast and very loud, and they forget the most important thing, which is to make music.
OK，澳门的音乐会中，您的演奏曲目都是按照年代来划分的。那就是您为什么是这样安排的呢？那哪个年代是您最喜欢的一个时期的作品？您可以谈一谈吗？
I choose concerts. You know, we artists have feelings for the music that we play.
For
So
feelings.
we choose programs according to what we feel at the moment. And I have years where I love to play Mozart. I have years I love to play Beethoven. I always love to play Bach.
Bach.
Yeah, because I think
music.
Bach music is the one that connects me with something above us. You know, is for me is very spiritual music and very soothing for the soul. So for Macau, I decided to play a concert that will have variation of styles because I love Scarlatti. Sonatas are melancholic. I'm playing one melancholic and one more bright and happy. And then I'm playing Chopin because everybody loves Chopin.
Yes.
The Chopin Fantasy. And
Ravel.
I'm playing also Granados because I love to play Spanish music because of my grandparents. And Ravel, I'm playing actually one piece, the Pavane, for a dead princess that is very sad piece of music, but with an incredible amount of colors and subdue and lyrical, and I love it very much. And in contrast with this Ravel piece, I played Alborada del Gracioso that actually was very much inspired in Spanish music. So it combines very good with Granados because it has a lot of a Spanish flair. And then in all my recitals, I feel it's important I played Alberto Ginastera because he's a very important composer from my country that represents the nationalistic music of the country. He was very much inspired in the folk music, and he wrote beautiful suites. You know, it's incredible because when he was only 21 years old, he was a student at the conservatory, and was a very important competition of composers in the whole country. And all their composers presented works, and well-known composers presented works, and he was only 21 and presented a suite of danzas argentinas, which means Argentinian dances, that they have very much the flavor of the gaucho dance. Gaucho represents the American cowboy. It's mainly the man in the farm that is with horses and with animals, and he works in the farms. And so the gaucho dance is a dance that is very masculine and changing, is almost like tapping on the floor, and very exciting. So Ginastera was very much inspired by all these nationalistic rhythms and melancholic. Also, like, you know, there is another dance. So he won the first prize of the composition, the composers, and everybody was very surprised because they said, "Oh my God, we have such a big talent now in Argentina, and so young and promising." And so the music was so beautiful that many pianists started playing this piece. And the music became very popular. And among in international level, I must say that I did a lot of. I probably was the first pianist that introduced Ginastera, for example, in Taipei, in Taiwan, several years ago, like around the 90s. And also in Japan, students did not know about Ginastera.
Many Asian country.
Yeah, and also in Korea, I played Ginastera and people did not know his music. So I think I did something very good to represent music from my own country.
Yes.
And I keep doing it. You know, like I was in Thailand now, and now I am in Macau. And I think that people should know about this music because it's very beautiful, very exciting, very colorful. It has both a contrast of a melancholic soul and also very rhythmical and with a lot of passion and excitement.
那在您的教学过程中，就是您感觉自己能给予学生最重要的是什么宝贵的一个经验呢？ You teach many students and be a professor. Which you can to teach your students best?
Yes, I taught a lot because I started teaching already when I was maybe 21, 22 years old. As a matter of fact, when I was at Manhattan School of Music, my teacher was very impressed with my technique and my musicality, and sometimes if she did not feel like teaching, she would say, "Oh, Eduardo, please help me," and I taught some of her students, and that was in New York, and so I did not know that I had at that time that a special ingredient that is necessary to teach. First is patience, and second, the art of transmit, the art of communicating what you want to say. And I think that as a professor, we need to give to the children a very important foundation, so from that foundation, step by step, they can grow. And it's not good to give too much too soon. I noticed that some teachers give to children that are 7, 8, 9 years old music that is too complex or too mature for the age. The children have to play music that they will not be bored, music that it will be childish and happy like them, and of course give them some melancholic music, because in life life is a combination of sadness and happiness, and I think that some children experience sadness when they're already very young.
Yes.
And they can lose a grandfather or a grandmother that they love very much, or a little doggy or a cat, so they feel already something. So they can express those feelings in the music. And so, but the technique and the mechanical foundation is very important, so they can express properly the musicality and the feelings that they have. If we don't have a good technical ability, it's very difficult to express ourselves.
Yes, yes.
And it requires a lot of patience to practice. It's not easy. Children and adults, don't like to practice usually.
Of course.
And so I think that those that are that make a career are because they are really very dedicated, or because the mothers push them to really work. My mother actually had to push me a lot because I was not very good discipline. I For me it was difficult to go to the piano and start. But once that I will start in practicing, I will get involved with the music and I will continue playing. And sometimes my mother will sit with me at the piano and say, practice a little bit more, 5 more minutes, and then 5 more minutes would be 10 more minutes, and then 10 more minutes would be 20 minutes, and the time will go. And then when I was 16, I was entering in competitions, and I did not do competition when I was child. And my teacher, for some reason, did not want me to do that, and we did not have competitions either in my city until I was maybe 16, 17, and I was I participated in a very important competition, and I won a first prize. And then they did another competition. I also won the first prize. And then I went to Buenos Aires, and I won a first prize on an Italian competition. And and then I went to different competitions. I was always winning the first prize. But when I was 19, I won a competition organized by Mozart Town Foundation in Buenos Aires, and they invited two pianists from Italy, and they gave a piano course for 1 month. At the end of the course was a competition, and I won first prize, and that took me to Italy, and I studied in Venice for 1 year. And for me it was an amazing experience, because it was not only my musical experience, was the experience of traveling, the experience of being a different culture, different language, different food. And Venezia, for me, is probably the most romantic city in the world. And I will practice a lot in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, have a lunch, and then I had a book about the history of Venezia, and I will visit all the churches, museums, and I will look at the fresco, and I learn about painters and from 1500, 1600, 1700. And I went to the Academy Museum many times, and to the point that I knew by memory the name of the painters I was seeing in the paintings. And I think that it's so important that when we are young that we go to museums and that we look at paintings, because the paintings represent so many feelings of what the painters wanted to express through colors.
Yes.
And music also has colors. Piano should never be only a forte or piano. The piano has the possibilities of creating beautiful sounds, singing sound, or percussive sound, depending how we treat the piano. So we had to teach the students all these ingredients and beauty for music, that is not only to study the piano, but is also to see what happens in the world, visiting museums, visiting gardens and park and rose gardens, and smell the roses and feel the different consistency in the petals, and because it's life, and a beautiful flower it starts coming alive, being small, and grows into a beautiful rose, and then doesn't live very long and dies. So it's life. It's like
To feel it.
yeah. So I think that this gives us a lot of inspiration, and I tell the students never to limit themselves to the piano and open their eyes to paintings and walking and taking the time for a rose garden or a botanic garden and looking at the greenery, looking at the water, at the river or a lake, and seeing people, because now everybody is so busy with a telephone in their hand, you know, and the people are losing the contact between two people. They don't talk like we are talking now. They send messages, and this is so impersonal, you know. It's so cold. It's like the communication is only through a text message, and they lose. You know, when I was a child, I had to pick up the telephone and said, "Hey, hello, how you doing?" You know, and then you will hear the voice of the other person, and so life changed a lot, and I think that all these things are making us more detached from feelings, and we don't. And then when we play music, we don't think so much about what the composers felt. When I play the composer, I think in the life of Mozart and the period where he lived, and the clothing that he was wearing, the food that he probably will eat. He was at one time very much poverty. He did not have enough food. I think about the bathroom conditions and the way they live in cold weather without a heating system, or very hot weather, and they had to wear all this heavy clothing. And still, they compose the most glorious music, you know? And I think the same about Bach, the same about Beethoven, the same about Schubert, that was poor and melancholic and nostalgic composer, and he created all this music coming from a very difficult life. So when we play music, I make the students to understand the composer first and to feel what the music tells them. Because if they don't feel it, they can never project to the audience
Yes.
that feeling. And many times people go to concerts and say, "Oh, Bach is so boring," or "Mozart is so boring," and it's not. The the performers play Bach boring, or play Mozart boring. So we had to give life to this music in order for the people to enjoy it. I also believe that it's important that we educate the public, because the public many times go and they don't really know what is going on, and they hear music and they might like it or not like it, but if you give them an ingredient of knowledge about the composer and the style and the meaning of the music, they hear the music much different.
Okay, that's last question. We have too many child and their parents start to study the piano and these harp programs. What do you want to say to of them?
Well, like I said in the beginning, first they had to look for a very good teacher.
Yes.
And good teacher means, you know, sometimes parents think that maybe the child is not going to become a pianist. And they don't want to spend money in education for something that they might not know. Because a child can start piano very young and maybe play very well by 10, 12, 14, 15, and then when it's about 17, they can say, "Oh, I don't want to do piano, I want to do medicine or engineering or architecture or whatever." But if the if the parents feel that the children are talented and that they can develop well, they should invest money in a good teacher. Because a teacher has to have a student and teacher has to have a charisma. You know, they have to have, it has to be an attraction, like attraction among friends, that you had to like very much. The teachers that I had before 11, I did not like.
Yes.
Yeah, but the teacher I had when I was 11, she later became like a mother and best friend. And I love her. I love her very, very much. And I suffer a lot when she died. And yesterday I got very sad news because her daughter, that was almost my age and a very good friend of mine, died.
Oh.
And so yesterday and today I feel
So
heavy
sorry.
in my heart, because these people were very important in my life. Her mom was very important, and the two of us, we were always distant because of my career. She stayed in Argentina. I living in America. But every time that I was going to Argentina, I would see her. And we will get together. So, but in life we lose friends, we lose dear people, we lose our parents, we lose close friends, and life is not forever.
Okay, thank you again to share your good and wonderful story to us. And we hope you have a good journey in Macau.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you.